Good morning, everybody. I hope you're all doing fantastically well. It's Connor here on a muggy Manchester morning. Yes, alliteration aside, everybody, we are back. It is the Rumour. It is another One Leeds video. Excuse me. And we're here to discuss everything that is involved with our club today. We'll be having a 60-second update as well that is going to be going live around about midday, maybe a little bit later. That's going to be something that's consistently on the channel. If you missed that the other day, go check it out. It's just where I keep you updated midday, really quick fire. Some of you don't like these live stream formats or even just recorded video formats, which are a length of time and you're at work and you just want an update with what's going on at Leeds United. You've got the 60-second update there as well. We'll be releasing a debrief again very, very soon. We've got those plans in the works. We just kind of need, excuse me, some big news to drop, really. And this could be the big news today for us to react to. But some big news across the board as well is like players seem to be going to clubs. Managers seem to be hired as well at other places as well. So listen, Leeds are apparently narrowing down their choice. Am I a little bit perturbed by the amount of time this is taking? I understand completely that they are trying to get that choice right. I think the Andoni thing yesterday might have been a little bit of a punch in the gut for them, and maybe a little bit of a realization bomb of where we actually are in terms of our position in English football nowadays, standing wise, I should say. But overall, let's turn this fan off. But overall, it needs to narrow down and it needs to happen very, very quickly, in my opinion. It's all right knowing who the 49ers enterprises are and what that comprises of, but I think the man at the top of the structure, the framework of the club, especially without a sporting director, is the manager. And without the manager at this moment in time, player dominoes aren't going to fall, us understanding what's going to be going on next season. The players coming back on the 2nd of July, less than 3 weeks away. We need to see things moving really, really quickly, I think, now at Leeds United. Craig's in the building. Morning, Connor. Hope we show some movement this week. I agree. Evening from Melbourne. Hiya, pal. All right, Connor. Chin up, lad. March on together. Appreciate a lot of the support last night. Listen, guys, sometimes when you just have an absolutely shoddy couple of months, and it bothered me as well massively because this channel was affected by it. In terms of sometimes my frequency of uploads, and I just want to say, like I said yesterday on the video, I apologise for that. So listen, we're back. Morning, Hannah. Thank you for your concern. But I feel like I've just been coming on here and moaning all the time. I mean, I know I'm moaning on here all the time anyway, but that's to do with Leeds United. But yeah, sometimes I just think that you guys should be all right too. And listen, I've spoken to a lot of you guys when you're not all right, so keep your chins up and all that sort of good stuff. From Fuerteventura, hopefully pre-season friendlies are announced soon too. Yeah, definitely. I do quite like how the 49ers are being, we use it to run, but I'm sure it's all happening, yeah. Sam says, and this is the news I wanted to get onto this morning, everybody. Believe it or not, Football Insider, who normally are absolutely bang off with everything, have been pretty much bang on with quite a few things in this transfer window so far. They could be wrong with this, they could be completely wrong. But it wouldn't surprise me. It really wouldn't surprise me. Apparently, Carlos Corberán has been ruled out of the job, according to the Football Insider, who have reported that the San Francisco 49ers want a proven manager and want someone who's done it before. So for me, that, let's be honest, that sort of narrows down to one person, doesn't it? It narrows down to one person. It narrows down to Daniel Farke. Listen, I am a massive fan. I mean, my choice on the Patreon account, I did a whole video on Michael Carrick. I think Carrick would have been and would be an unbelievable choice for Leeds United. It's not just what he's done with what he's done with Middlesbrough, but it's the philosophy, the ethos, the tactical ingenuity, the very De Zerbi model he's put in there. And I was saying that I feel like a lot of defensive midfielders who have been at the top of the game, Guardiola, Xavi, Carrick, are coming into the game and really putting their footprint down in terms of how football should be played. And I really like that. I would have loved the idea of Carrick, but I think prying him away from Middlesbrough, I believe it's his Newcastle's boyhood club, isn't it? But it's a northeast connection. That might be a little bit too much, especially with such a fantastic chairman in Steve Gibson, of which Leeds United don't even know what's going on yet. There's a structure at Borough. There isn't really a proper structure at Leeds United. But when it comes to Carlos Corberán, I'm a little bit I'm a little bit disappointed if that is to be the truth. Listen, for me, it had zero connection with Marcelo Bielsa. I loved that in a strange sort of sense. It was sort of a Bielsa disciple, but Corberán has forged his own path in a very, very, very impressive way. Overachieved in both jobs. When you look at West Brom and where they first were, Huddersfield in particular, who I covered for a period of time, turned into an absolutely excellent outfit who were unbeatable at points with a very below average side and a 100% a below average budget. And I think in trying circumstances in both jobs, West Brom financially crippled, Huddersfield essentially financially crippled as well. He has massively overachieved, and I've said this from the start with Corberán. The difference with Carlos Corberán, I feel, and many other managers, is Corberán, with having the underlying numbers, he is also a very loyal manager, and you saw that. I keep saying this when Leeds came in for him when we were in the Premier League and when he could have kept us up. He turned around and said, no, this is my projects at West Brom. I genuinely believe that Carlos Corberán would come in at Leeds and fully invest himself into this Leeds United project. Now, you might disagree with that. That's absolutely fine. That's what I believe. I think a lot of the other managers would potentially see Leeds United as a stepping stone to something greater. I think Corberán has proved very, very recently that when he's invested in a job, he's purely invested in it. And I think maybe some Leeds fans are a little bit too focused on the idea that it's Bielsa number 2. It's not. I can tell you that for a fact. It's not. After watching Carlos Corberán's football for around about 12 months, he is not a Bielsa. He's a disciple from Marcelo Bielsa. He's worked under him, but he's also worked under many other managers and got many different philosophies from them. Apparently one of his massive influences was Unai Emery as well, and that's probably what you see in the structure, the framework, the defensive work which he employs, which Bielsa doesn't really focus on. So it's not just it's not going to be a Marcelo 2.0. But I think it's a big. I honestly believe it's a bit of a big miss, that I really do. And if they don't hire him, and maybe we go down the road of a Vieira, it's like, once again, it's obviously there's the American link with Vieira being at New York, but I feel, and we've got to understand that we would be a stepping stone club. And listen, you're always going to be a stepping stone club unless you're a bloody top 4, top 6 manager. But I mean, just, if Leeds are to build something and then the manager is to go at Christmas or whatever, which happens frequently in the Championship if they're performing well, and a Premier League manager is sacked at the lower level, that would disappoint me massively. You kind of want to build a bit of a project here, and I still feel Vieira, if he did an okay job at Leeds, would be gone. Farke, I'm a little bit interested in, because I'd need to see the way of his work, but Corberán, I believe, would stay at Leeds unless a ridiculous offer came in for him, which I don't think it would. I think Corberán would be full in on the project. Let's have a look at what some of you guys are saying. Don't want Parker or Vieira, to be honest. Hi all, says Rob. Adam, between Vieira and Farke, only has to be one choice for me. From what I read here, it's still an outside chance of Potter. I don't think so, mate. I'd be really surprised if Potter was. I mean, I think he saw someone in the gym the other day. And listen, a lot of these things are very frivolous when it comes to people meeting people in gyms and stuff. But there's something on the Leeds United sphere the other day saying that apparently met him in the gym. There's a photo with this kid and Potter, and apparently Potter has said, look, don't put your money on me, which is a very respectful thing to say, just ruling himself casually out the job. And I think that's all you really need, really. And then, once again, I think maybe expectations are a little bit too high to be looking at the likes of Potter and Brendan Rodgers. For me, the likely ones, and the ones that I would see as beneficial to Leeds United, are Corberán, Farke, and Carrick. I think those as a 3-header are very, very, very good appointments, and I like all of them. It's not just Corberán that I'm a massive fan of. I really like what Farke would bring as well. I think Carrick would be an unbelievable appointment, but I think there are positives. There are positives in all of the appointments, I think, and I think what people maybe seem to miss a little bit with Corberán, and I wanted to come on and speak about this, was the defensive side that he brought in at Huddersfield. Guys, they were unbelievable. After his first season there, where it didn't properly work, I believe they finished 16th. came on, second season, improved, was pragmatic, and defensively they were solid. So anyway, my whole point is I'm really hoping that Carlos Corberán isn't out of the run, because I think it will be a really smart appointment by Leeds United, and one where you turn around and think that that's going to be a long-term appointment, and one where he's going to be full in on this Leeds United train. I guess the Andoni Iraola. The Andoni Iraola going to Bournemouth. I know there's a lot of people talking about that in the chat. Welcome to everybody in a chat as well. I think Iraola, I think it's a smart move from him. I think Bournemouth had a better side than Leeds. Leeds fans won't like to hear that, but they've had parachute payments. They've been up, they've been down. They've gathered all of this money, and they've assembled a very good championship squad when they were down there. And ultimately, they've been able to assemble a very decent Premier League side with a lot of strength in depth. And I think, I said this yesterday on the video, I think him going in to Bournemouth is a masterstroke for Bournemouth, and it almost pivots them on staying up. Even from a lot of people say, Bournemouth are going to go down next year, but how they've assembled this squad, and Iraola, what he did at Rayo Vallecano in terms of being so dynamic, needing quick wingers, but needing a really physical team. I think that would have taken time at least to build, because we've got so much deadwood, and the squad building's been horrific for years. Bournemouth, on the other side of things, have done things in a very shrewd way, and they've built a good squad. They've built a very good squad, a quick squad. And I think this is something that will aid Iraola, was something that Iraola focused on at Rayo Vallecano when it came to his better players. And I think this is I think it'll be a really good match for Bournemouth, and you'll probably and it's actually it'll be decent to see. I've got nothing against Bournemouth, and we all like watching fast flowing football, and I think that's what happens when you've got good management and you can do things quickly, and you can build a squad that a manager can look at and go, oh yeah, I'll come in for that. Because guys, as well, you've got to build a squad where you've got to attract a manager as well. Daniel Farke right now, Carlos Corberán right now, they'll be assessing their options as well. They'll be looking at Leeds and thinking, how much of this is going to churn? How many players are going to leave? And how many players have I got to get in by this certain date? And how many training sessions are they going to need to get up to my standard? These are all things that these managers will be looking at. Best believe it's not just Leeds deciding this. This will be the managers really evaluating their position here. Apparently Murat and other 49ers jetting into London this week to finalise the manager. Vieira put together that team at Palace. That was solid and good going forward. Only sacked because of poor run against top 10. You're correct, Alfonso. I'm not 100% sure that I'd want that in the Championship, though, to be quite honest with you. I think what I really like about Corberán is he's an up-and-coming manager, chomping at the bit. He's loyal, and I also think that his tactical management of the Championship is very, very good. He's able to get the balance between defence and attack very well, and he's overachieved. There's proof in the pudding. We keep talking about proven managers and all this sort of stuff. Well, Corberán got to the playoff final with a dross Huddersfield side. He got West Brom to a very, very comfortable finish from whence they were. So that's what I like. He's proven himself. He's chomping at the bit. He's ready to go, and he's loyal. I think there's a lot of really good attributes to Carlos Corberán coming in. I think we'd all like Leeds to be defensive, a little bit more solid. And if you can mirror that with a lot of offensive, dynamism and all this sort of stuff and fluidity going forward, I think that'd be fantastic, to be honest with you. Jamie, why do all these Leeds streams start so early? Sorry, mate. I try to keep you updated throughout the day, buddy. I do. It's not just this we'll be doing. Hi Connor, how are you? I'm good, Gail. Thank you so much. Hope you're all good. Thanks for your lovely messages. Will's still away from Rem. Yeah, he's a popular one at the minute, isn't he? But a little bit of chat when it comes to obviously the thumbnail, guys. I think we're all very, very aware that Diego Llorente looks to have sealed a deal to Roma for 10 million euros, I believe it is. Trust me, I've been to Hvar in Croatia, and the euro is very, very similar to the pound now in terms of value. Let's not start going on about the dross country that we live in at the minute in terms of expenses and all that wonderful stuff that we all have to experience every single day. But yeah, so when you're looking at 10 million euros and 10 million pounds, it's very, very close now. So selling Diego Llorente for that amount of money, I think he's a very good bit of business. I'm happy with that. There's no way we're getting any more for him. The fact that we paid 15 to 18 million, is just comical in itself. We're always going to make a loss on these players because we overspent for them, and they weren't the profiles that we needed at the time, and a lot of them ultimately failed at Leeds United, hence why we are in the Championship this season. Leeds spent big money on certain players and they haven't delivered. I can count on one hand in the Premier League era how many players have worked and almost justified their value. So yeah, a lot of things to look at there. There's an evaluation process going on at this minute in time by the 49ers on what the hell has gone wrong. And that's right. They need to gut out individuals in that backroom staff who've been there for too long, have been part of the operation for too long, are best mates with the players and best mates with other people behind the scenes, and are not willing to make proper decisions. Let me talk about a proper decision as well. I saw a lot of fans turning around and saying, I can't believe Bournemouth have got rid of Gary O'Neill after what he did last season. Guys, once again, this is the sentiment of some fans, and the worst thing about this, and I'm going to come back to the main point, but the worst thing about I think some of this fan base is that the expectations have been smashed to bits by the ownership, the running of the football club post Bielsa, where we actually think as a football club, as Leeds United Football Club, Leeds United, one of the biggest clubs in England, you would keep Gary O'Neill for the season afterwards. And it comes back to the Jesse Marsch thing, doesn't it? Jesse Marsch should have been sacked in the summer of last season. Now, it's not an I told you so thing whatsoever. It was my opinion, and at the time, I know it was a lot of your opinions as well. I got absolutely hammered for not being positive, not being the guy on the bandwagon to support Jesse. We put 100 million quid behind Jesse Marsch. Now, what Bournemouth have done is Bournemouth have acted like a proper club. They've realised that Gary O'Neill was working with a side that's got decent potential, but they also realised that going forward, this guy was not the right person to put a lot of money behind. You need a proper coach with a proper philosophy who's going to take your club to the next level. These are the different comparisons. We bring in Jesse Marsch, who never had a clue, never really had a successful spell at any club. When he had a successful spell at one club, they were the dominant club and in the respective country, and had Erling Haaland up top, and they were playing a bunch of without any disrespect, bus drivers every week. That was his success. So we decided to put 100 million quid behind him and support him and say that he is the man. What Bournemouth have done, and what I respect massively, as I've said multiple times, is they've got rid of Gary O'Neill, because let's be honest, he's not a long-term option. He was a gap filler, and then they brought in Andoni Iraola. That's a massive, massive upgrade, and that is exactly what a proper club does. And fair play to them. I respect massively what they've done, and I sometimes wish Leeds United previously, I always wish that Leeds United would act in that ruthless way. But as we know, there's an evaluative process going on behind closed doors when it comes to the San Francisco 49ers. When it comes to analysing clubs behind the scenes, etc., etc. But yeah, essentially Diego Llorente looks to be going to Roma, and I think that's a good bit of business. Leeds couldn't have got anything more from anyone else for Llorente. He's just simply not good enough. Fulham did the same. Connor, they did, Paul. Yeah, I was really shocked. I was really shocked. You over here, Andoni the next level after finishing 12th from 5th. What are you drinking, Connor? Can I get some? Andoni the next level after finishing 12th from 5th. Yeah, but look who's appointed him. It's Bournemouth. Bournemouth. So you're saying that Andoni Iraola is a step down, which is fair enough. That's your opinion. Is a step down from Gary O'Neill, who went in and was a gap filler. Come on. They've gone for someone who plays a very, very good brand of football, has impressed in Spain, had offers from Spain, by the way, and has decided to come to the Premier League. So I think it's a really top appointment for Bournemouth. And I think there is a little bit of English bias sometimes. It's like, Gary O'Neill's kept them up, so let's hire him as a full-time manager. It's not a big club mentality whatsoever. What are your thoughts on Farke? Yeah, Joe, I'd be happy with Farke. I would be happy with Farke. I kind of like the duo that we'd have with Farke and Webber as well, which I do think is going to happen a little bit later on down the line. I think if he's got an eye for a bargain as well. Obviously, Webber's got an eye for a bargain, although they reckon a lot of that was Kieran Scott. But, you look at the job that Webber did at Huddersfield, it was very, very good. When Wagner was there, I think all the options when you're looking at Corberan and Farke, if that has been narrowed down, I'm a massive fan of that. I'm okay with that, as long as they don't turn around and appoint a Vieira which in a strange sort of way would be great for attracting players in the Championship. I spoke about bully boy tactics at the start. I think someone like Vieira coming in and bullying in terms of attraction. You look at Leeds and you think, oh, bloody hell, Patrick Vieira. You know, a lot of players will be Arsenal fans and they'll watch Vieira back in the day for years, as they all watched Henry back in the day for years as well. And they'll think, oh, bloody hell, yeah, let's go play for Patrick Vieira. What a wonderful appointment that would be. So yeah, I think that's the level really in terms of you know, I mean, Vieira did a good job at Palace, of course he did, but once again, it's where we're at really. For me, you do need someone who's proven or has done something in the Championship, you know, understands the league a little bit more. That's why I don't really want a foreign manager, because we've done that before. We've also done domestic before, i.e. Warnock and McDermott, but we've never done it in these circumstances, you know, with this amount of money, with this backing. You know, when we had Warnock and bloody McDermott, it was the Cellino era, wasn't it? Mixed with GFH. So yeah, I think now we've actually got a proper ownership structure, and it looks like we're actually doing the right things, the proper things behind the scenes. You know, the big example being the evaluative process, Nick Hammond coming in. You'd expect Leeds to really start thriving and flourishing when it comes to doing these sorts of things, and hopefully being a proper club, because this club has been ran like an absolute you-know-what show for the past 2 years, whatever. Whoever we get, don't you think we should get them our support? Yeah, of course, Dan, of course. Of course, we'll give them the support. We're just on here to discuss who we think should be, should be the next boss. That's just my opinion. Of course, it'd be pretty boring if the whole stream, mate, I just said, it doesn't matter who we get. I'm just going to give them my support. David says, well, O'Neill kept Bournemouth up, which is more than our 3 stopgap managed here at Leeds. That's a bit unfair to rubbish him. What he did was... Yeah, David, I'm not rubbishing him whatsoever. He did a really good job, and that's why it's been controversial. Like, a lot of people have been up in arms a bit. Why have they sacked Gary O'Neill? The squad at Bournemouth is equal in every position to Leeds United and much better. Yeah? And I think a lot of fans maybe don't understand that. You know, when they came to Ellen Road and they battered us for the first 45, 50 minutes, and they should have been 5-6-1 up, and we came back. You know, it was all on moments that day. Nonso and Somerville were brilliant, but when we went down there and they absolutely mauled us again, obviously towards the back end of the season, you're looking at a lot of this squad that they've built over years and years and years of getting parachute payments, going up, going down, a lot of investment from behind the scenes in this Bournemouth side. Obviously, they had a takeover very, very recently. They seem to be doing a really good job. There's a real recruitment strategy in place there where they don't seem to be missing with a lot of players. With Gary O'Neill, he kept them in the Premier League. This is what I'm talking about. The difference is they've thought to themselves, we want a manager with a philosophy, an ethos, a strategy, someone who's overachieved. Someone said earlier he went from 5th to 12th. He's still Rayo Vallecano. They are literally odds on to finish bottom anytime they are in La Liga. So for him to do all of that, lose key players in the process, Iriola's a very attractive prospect. And they wanted someone to come in who can work with these profiles of players that are very, very good in this Bournemouth side. Very, very quick and dynamic. Just sticking with Gary O'Neill, for me, stinks of low expectation and just not really any idea of what's going on going forward. And the likelihood is, let's be honest, he'd have failed towards the back end of last season. That's just my opinion. He might not have done. But I think that's how a proper club runs. You have someone in for a stopgap, fine, and then you look. Listen, you can't directly compare Gary O'Neill to Jesse Marsh, but Jesse Marsh, for me, should have been a stopgap. We then went and backed him with 100 million quid, you know. And as I say, you can't really compare, but you can compare when it comes to the ruthlessness of both clubs. Leeds should have gone out at the start of that season, had Jesse Marsh in for that stopgap, and we hired another manager who replicated some of the values that Marcelo Bielsa had instilled with that Leeds United side. We didn't do that. We went completely away from it, transitioned completely away from it, and just, well, no plan. You know, no plan. So yeah, I could be wrong. It's just my thoughts. And Minerals, I remember people saying the exact same thing about Graham Potter when De Zerbi came in. Brighton are gonna fail because Potter's gone. He knows the game. He's been at Swansea. He's now been at Brighton, and now they're hiring an unknown. Who's this? De Zerbi. So yeah, anyway, guys, so let's move on to the next news. It looks like apparently Everton, as we all know, I think a lot of you have seen this, Everton are... Also, did Bielsa know the English game? Don't think he did he? But anyway, yeah, it looks like apparently Willie Gnonto and Jack Harrison are being considered by Everton, 16 million quid. I think that literally was them both, or you know, I mean, the article that I read, it was 16 million for Gnonto and Jack Harrison. That's never going to happen in you know, in a month of Sunday. Jack Harrison, I believe, is, from what I understand, his release clause is 17 million quid. Willie Gnonto, you would be hoping that Leeds can at least ask for 20 million quid. Apparently, that was being rumoured by Fiorentina, AC Milan, Inter Milan, even looking at him. So I don't believe that is going to happen in terms of valuation. I think even 16 million for Gnonto and 16 million for Harrison would be an absolute crying shame, and something that if Leeds United did that, I would probably throw myself out of a window. I have no idea on the financial situation of Leeds United when it comes to having to have you know, a certain amount of money in to then be able to go out and bully the Championship in terms of financial expectation, but I would be hoping that in terms of, you know, when you're looking at each individual player, they are worth a lot more than that. Jack Harrison, maybe not much more than that, to be fair, 17 million-ish, but overall, I think Willie Gnonto, you need to be getting sort of like 5-6 times what you've paid for him for what he's done at Leeds United and the potential he's shown. What could go against him? What could go against him is maybe the fact that he played a lack of game time in you know, toward the back end of the season. Clubs are maybe looking at Gnonto thinking, oh, we'll lowball Leeds. Ronnie Kipper in, great name. Thanks so much for your donation, mate. Do you think we'll have a manager sorted this week? Fixtures are out in 2 days, I believe. Ronnie, mental that, innit, mate? Love your videos, mate. Oh, thanks, Ronnie. What a lovely comment. Thanks so much, man. I do, Ronnie. I do. I think we'll have a manager sorted this week. Whether or not it'll be a manager that we want, I'm hoping it is going to be. But I do think we'll have a manager sorted this week. As you said, the fixtures are out in 2 days. I'm hoping, from what I've seen so far, as I said, the Nick Hammond thing, the evaluative process behind the scenes, gutting out some of the absolute tripe behind the scenes at Leeds United. I'm hoping that this shows that the 49ers are coming here and listen, they mean business, they mean big business, and I'm hoping that the time allotted to getting a manager is just because they're scrupulously trying to get their you know, this managerial appointment right. They've got to get this right. They can't get this wrong. We all know this could go wrong. If it goes wrong, this is going to look horrific on them. It's their first appointment. Look at Todd Bowie at Chelsea. Completely different standard, completely different setting, money-wise as well. But look at that first appointment. It was absolutely horrific. They've got to get this right. And we all know they've got to get this right, because it'll be bad on Leeds in terms of positionally. It'll be bad. It'll be massively awful from a PR standpoint as well. It's like, oh, here we go again. They've got another one wrong. We're at Leeds again. They've got another appointment wrong. So, yeah. We'll have to wait and see. Guys, listen, I'm going to leave it there. I've got work in about 2 minutes. So listen, do us a favour before you leave. Like the video. We're going to have your 60-second update live. Well, it'll be live at midday, 1-ish. But yeah, really appreciate your support. Really appreciate your messages as well. Make sure you're liking this stuff. Make sure you're heading over to the Patreon. You got some bonus content. Guys, have a good one. And I will see you in a bit. Cheers.